Hello, everyone. It's Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We are live with you on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, Les. So, both places. How are you this week? I see you have a three-dimensional logo behind you.
That is correct. I've been in the workshop.
It looks good.
Yep, it's all wood and paint and an unbelievable amount of time lining all the letters up.
Well, it looks good, and it will be really nice behind us on the live broadcast. And
Yeah,
we've got a lot to get to. The reveals keep coming. I know it sounds like we've been talking about this forever, but there's good reason. And the reveals keep coming. And this time it is the Jeep Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer. We're going to talk about that. Some details on the Kia Stinger. It was
right.
leaked out this week.
2022.
Yep. Ford Super Duty. That is going to be talked about this hour.
2022.
And and Les Jackson, what does a pink teddy bear in a yellow safety vest have to do with highway safety?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll tell you, and we'll tell you about. Let me see if you can guess this. One brand that was supposed to come to the U.S. will not be coming to the U.S. And that means a classic U.S. brand will continue and get more products. So we'll talk about that. That will be pretty exciting, right?
That is exciting, yes.
Uh, any guesses on what it might be?
Uh, Amphicar.
The Amphicar 2020, the Amphicar 2022. Uh,
Right.
no, it is Chrysler. Chrysler, of
Yes.
course. The only thing really left in its lineup is the Pacifica and also the 300, but that's kind of long in the tooth. And now it looks like the fact that Peugeot won't be coming over, even though Stellantis, Peugeot is the one of the big names in the Stellantis company. Looks like
Huge.
Chrysler will be continuing on, and I'm kind of happy about that. How about you?
Well, I am too. We've lost so many historic brands in the last 20 years. I just like to see it stay around.
I still feel bad about Pontiac. I always liked Pontiacs. I had a couple of Pontiacs. I was
Yeah.
watching on the Motor Trend app a episode of Roadkill, and they revived an old Bonneville station wagon, and
Hmm.
it brought back a memory because it was a '67, and they had a recall for bad motor mounts because they would just
As
break suddenly.
Yeah. Well, all of GM did.
Yeah, and I remember we were getting on the highway once, this is before the recall, and the motor mount broke and the fan went into the shroud. And I remember my dad said, "Well, okay, let's once we got it home, he said, just tell me what happens when I rev the engine up." And it looked like that little 283 was going to come out and roll over the fender. I said,
Oh yeah.
it's a bad motor mount. It's a broken motor mount. I said because it's just going to roll right out of the hood. Um, but I thought this probably was one of them that probably wasn't recalled, and it finally broke. Cool car though. Cool car. So hey, who's coming in this hour for the live radio show?
I'll be coming in
All right, and
soon.
all right, it's all yours, sir.
Yes, indeed. Hello there, and welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. It's mine too. because I'm on the air. I'm Les Jackson. The other voice you're about to hear is Fred Staub.
Hello.
And he and I, there he is. We are always on hand to go through as many stories about the automotive industry as we can pack in. And let's tell everybody what we're going to do.
Yeah, Les, we got a lot to get to, and it starts this hour with Jeep. Classic returns. Jeep rolls out the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer, loaded with technology and off-road capability. And this thing, we don't know exactly yet, but it's probably going to cost over $100,000.
Yeah. One more on my list of vehicles I can't afford. And over at Kia, we've got some details of about the 2022 Stinger. They teased their first dedicated battery electric vehicle as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that and a whole bunch more. Also, Ford updates its Super Duty pickup truck for 2022. We'll tell you about it.
Yes, indeed. And what, Fred, does a pink teddy bear in a safety vest have to do with highway safety?
I don't know. Is that a new appointee?
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. And one car company is coming to the U.S. roads, and it may mean one car company is not coming to the U.S. roads, and it may mean that a historic U.S. brand is saved. We'll tell you about what we're talking about.
Yes, we will. And we're glad.
Yes, we are. We are. All that and more when we get rolling on this edition of Cruise Control Radio, your on-air automotive magazine. And Les Jackson, I think the reveals will just not stop. That's what it seems like, doesn't it?
No, and also the LA Auto Show virtual is happening.
That's pretty cool. I had not heard about that, but that's pretty cool.
It's been going on the past couple days. I've only tuned into a little bit. They've done a good job.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, I think virtual car shows for automotive journalists will be the future. Probably they just won't be for people wanting to buy cars. They'll still have to go and touch them and check them out, right?
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that.
Yeah.
We get to drive them.
All right. Well, when we come back, we'll get rolling on Cruise Control Radio. Don't forget to check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com, where you can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. It's all there. cruisecontrolradio.com. All right. Not bad. Well, we're glad you're with us live on Facebook and YouTube. Been getting a lot of interest on the YouTube pages, Les Jackson.
Well, that's good. You know, I go to YouTube quite often.
Do you? Do you go to YouTube quite often?
I do. I look up a lot of old rock groups, a lot of comedy sketches. Just there's a lot there.
Yeah, lot there. Good stuff. Good stuff on Cruise Control Radio. We're glad you guys are along for the ride for sure. I was just getting some things set up so we could hear everything in our ears. And there you go.
That is correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Fred's got about 200 pounds of electronics in front of him.
I do.
Do not push the red button.
Is that this one here? Oh no. Okay.
Don't touch the button.
All right. Well, when we come back in, it's going to be Jeep Wagoneer. They brought out two less, Wagoneer and Wagoneer, Grand Wagoneer. And I think it will be interesting to see how this does. This is definitely Escalade competition. And they want to get into that high end. They're definitely taking Jeep upscale. I mean, we saw the Grand Cherokee L, and now we're seeing the Jeep Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer. Remember the vehicle they had a long time ago? It was the top of the range vehicle at the time, and it was like looking through a tunnel when you sat there. It had one of the deepest dashboards ever. It was called the. Do you remember? I will a little trivia for you.
Well, it wasn't a Chrysler product.
It was a Jeep. It was called the Commander.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
It did not last long. It was a bizarre.
No.
When you sat in the driver's seat, it literally looked like the dash was about 3 feet long, and you were looking through a tunnel. And Sergio Marchionne, when he came in, he said, "I really don't know who would buy something like that," which is pretty bad when you run the company. But I'll bring us in. I thought it was pretty bad. Here we go.
5.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control Radio, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staub and Les Jackson with you, and we're glad you're along for the ride. We've got plenty to talk about, including Jeep's big reveal this week of the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer, the top of the range competition for Cadillac's Escalade and some of the very high-end
Lincoln Navigator,
and some offerings from Mercedes, and they are really playing in the big leagues. Of course, being a Jeep, this has incredible off-road capability. It is trail rated, and you can get it with Quadra-Track 1, 2, Quadra-Track 2 with active low range and rear electronic limited slip differential. They talk about up to 24 inches of water fording. Now, this is going to be a $100,000 truck. Do you think people would go through 24 inches of water with this vehicle, Les?
I would if it wasn't mine. But no, because some of it's going to leak in.
Yeah, it's interesting that is in the press release. That is the first thing they talk about. The capability of the vehicle. Now, then we move into some of the technology. It's almost too much to talk about. 75 inches of total screen display area available on the Grand Wagoneer's dashboard.
Yep.
10.1 and 12-inch reconfigurable center stack displays will be on this thing, and it is quite the vehicle. It is quite the vehicle and quite capable. It is a completely new body-on-frame design, Les. We haven't seen many body-on-frame vehicles, new ones, in many years, except for pickup trucks.
Very few. By the way, we're looking at a video of it. It's actually rather handsome.
It is handsome. It is squared off. It is chiseled, and it is one big beast for sure. Now, you got two powertrain choices, including a 5.7 liter Hemi that also comes with the e-torque system. So it is a bit of a, I guess you would call it a mild hybrid. It is a 392 horsepower engine and 404 pound-feet of torque. And it has the e-torque 48-volt hybrid with fuel-saving technologies, including cylinder deactivation and variable cam timing, standard equipment. But if you need more, Les Jackson, you might need more, right? Do you sometimes need more than that?
What you don't need, they have it, but you don't really need it, is the 1,375 watt sound system, which basically is powerful enough to blow all the windows out.
I believe so. But as far as powertrains go, you can get an optional 6.4-liter V8 power with cylinder deactivation, and that delivers 471 horsepower and 455 pound-feet of torque, which I think would get it done for most people.
Sure would.
I know you're still fixated on that powerful audio system. 23 speakers, by the way, including a 12-inch subwoofer with 3D surround. The vehicle is packed with 120 standard and available advanced safety and security features. That is incredible. I mean, where do you begin with this vehicle? Pricing, I think probably, and this is just me saying this, but I think the Wagoneer will probably start at 85, and then the Grand Wagoneer will be over 100. Would you say that is a possibility?
Yeah, I would be confident about that. A lot of money.
Now, this is probably based, I would say most of it, the structure is probably based on the Ram 1500 pickup, which is not a bad thing to base a vehicle on, for sure. It is a great way to start if you're going to build something. Some of the other features, of course, we talked about this last week on Cruise Control. It's going to have Fire TV for auto-specific remote, so you can watch TV. The passengers can watch it. Even the front passenger can watch it, but the driver can't see it. It has a privacy screen on it. And then just automatic braking, adaptive cruise, a whole bunch more stuff. But we're going to talk more about the Grand Wagoneer and the Wagoneer when we come back on Cruise Control Radio. I'm Fred Staub. He's Les Jackson. We will be right back, so stay tuned. Plenty more Cruise Control coming up. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. We're glad you're with us.
It's going to be fun to drive it.
I think it will be fun to drive it. This would be, like my dad would say, we would call it a Florida vehicle. In other words, it is a vehicle that you would take to Florida, right?
Yeah, long, comfortable drive.
Yeah, and big stuff here. A big vehicle, and pretty cool. All right. Well, you are listening to Cruise Control. We are live, and we are live on both Facebook and YouTube, and we're glad you're along for the ride, aren't we, Les Jackson?
Absolutely. It's neat to have people watching us while we're live. It's kind of like television.
Yeah, it's kind of like television. There you go.
Of course, I've spent a lifetime perfecting a radio face, but still.
It is a good stuff here, and hey, we are glad you're along for the ride. Also, coming up, we're going to talk about the new Ford Super Duty, which will be pretty interesting.
Very true. And the Stinger.
And the Stinger, and so much more on Cruise Control. You are going to come back in just a couple of minutes, Les, and we'll finish off the Wagoneer. Night vision with pedestrian and animal protection using thermographic technology. I'm just kind of pulling out some of these really cool things on the vehicle. Drowsy driver detection. It's endless. They just threw the book at it here with this
That's
vehicle.
Right, and including the dealerships.
Including the dealerships? What do you mean?
The dealerships are going to be selected.
Oh yeah, that's right. They also have like 10 promises to Wagoneer buyers.
Yeah.
where it will be. Let me see if I can find this. It made me
I
laugh.
I was reading it, and the dealerships will have a a, a great a certified Wagoneer ambassador.
Yeah, I hope that person gets to wear some kind of cool uniform because that's it.
5.
They're also going to have high quality snacks and beverages.
Excellent, excellent.
I love those. I'm coming in.
Cruise control.
And welcome back
And
to Cruise Control Radio. Les Jackson, do you want to take it?
yes, indeed. Well, we were welcome back, everyone. Fred and I were, of course, talking about the new Grand Wagoneer Jeep. Way too much detail to try and cover
Yeah.
in a segment, but I do want to mention that they're going to be selecting certain dealers to sell it, not just every dealer.
Yeah, it's quite a procedure. I mean, I guess if you're going to spend that money, you don't want you don't want like some cold coffee and here
Yeah.
sign this stack of papers. You want something
Right.
a little
Yeah,
bit
you
better.
don't want the showroom to be, to have, ashtrays and kind of lingering fragrance of Aquavelva aftershave,
Maybe
like in the old days.
maybe a kind of a 60s asphalt tile on the
Right,
floor or something.
right.
Yeah, they have something called 10 promises to Jeep Wagoneer buyers. We'll just kind of cherry pick some of them. They're going to have an ambassador, a Wagoneer ambassador who has special sales training. Ambassador, I would think that they would have like little epaulets on their
Yeah, I was I was thinking would be sort of formal.
yeah. It's sort of formal. Their number 6 is the technological experience that caters to unique times we're living in. Remote showrooms, test drives, and delivery services will be available. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on Cruise Control, how that's going to become the norm, I think. Concierge support, roadside assistance will be available. And the one thing that got me is when you come in to buy the vehicle, they have to have high-end snacks and beverages. I mean,
Well,
I think that's always good, high-end snacks and beverages.
I'm all for that.
I want to get Jim Morrison on here, who's the head of the Jeep brand, has been on the show a lot, and ask him about the high-end snacks and beverages, don't you? Like, what would be a high-end snack and beverage?
Well, a high-end snack, I think, would be, not the stale crackers.
You mean like stale cheese crackers? If I think
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
from
I think
another
maybe
decade.
even things like some nice pastries, some fruit.
All right, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
okay. Nice stuff. Nice stuff. We don't want
Yeah.
any stuff out. Here's your snack. Go over to the vending machine. Here's a quarter. Knock yourself out.
Yeah, and nice coffee.
Nice coffee is always good. Yeah. But that is a little bit about the Jeep Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more about this vehicle. Certainly the most expensive Jeep ever, even though they have a $73,000 Wrangler. This thing is going to put them into outer space when it comes to cost. I think it's probably going to be a beautiful vehicle. Tons of capability, and they just did not want that Escalade buyer to walk away and say, you know what, I wish Jeep had something like this, but they don't. So
Yeah.
now they do, Les Jackson. Now they do. A lot going on over at Kia. Apparently, there's been some leaks of their Kia Stinger. Now, the Stinger, of course, is their performance vehicle, and it was very much had very much an Audi feel, wouldn't you say?
It does. It's terrific in every way, but it's not selling as much as they thought it would.
Yeah, exactly. And basically, they they wanted to freshen it up, so they've done that. They have gone with a more powerful four-cylinder engine. They have also done some new styling on the inside. They've increased the screen size, and these details have leaked out. Matter of fact, one dealer, and I wonder what happens to a dealer like this, actually posted photos of it in their showroom. I wonder what happens to a dealer like that, huh?
Probably not much.
So they get
They
away with
may
it.
get, they may get a phone call.
Yeah, and saying so. If we have any other details, I think 10.25-inch touchscreen is replacing the current 8-inch screen. We told you about the 2-liter four-cylinder engine producing 255 horsepower, and it will be replaced by a 300 horsepower version, which is nice upgrade. But they're trying to make the base Stinger more exciting and get more people into the car. And it's a beautiful car. It definitely feels like Stinger's Audi performance car. And that's there's no reason for it not to, because Peter Stryer, who was a designer and at Audi for a long time, is the designer now. I believe he's over at Hyundai, but he designed the original Stinger, so it shows.
That's right, but the problem is it's a car.
Right? Can he make it a Stinger SUV or CUV?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Also over at Kia, they've teased their EV6. They had such a kind of nebulous teaser. I haven't bothered to put it up on our Cruise Control Radio Facebook page, which you can go over and see, though, by the way, the Facebook page, and throw us a like. We appreciate that. But they are going to be revealing this as their first BEV, their battery electric vehicle. That's the new word, Les Jackson. BEV.
Mm-hmm.
Not beverage. We're not back to the high-end beverages of Jeep. It's just BEV for battery electric vehicle. It's called the EV6. I hope when we switch over to electric, we don't go to all letters and numbers. I just don't see the need for that. I think names are always better, but it seems like Kia started that transition a while ago, and it looks like it's going to continue. But EV6.
Apparently, their focus groups tell them that people like it.
Words are so hard to use sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah, I think a name is much better for a vehicle. I really do. But EV6, look forward to taking a look at it. Next generation. I don't think we have a reveal date for this. No, we don't. But we will just have to stay tuned. You'll have to stay tuned to Cruise Control. Coming up, we're going to talk to you about Ford updating its Super Duty pickup truck. And I'm sure they will be high-priced units. And then what does a pink teddy bear in a safety vest have to do with highway safety? Well, Les can't answer that, and neither can I, but we'll tell you about it. And then one car company is not coming to the U.S., and it's kind of a good thing because that means a historic brand, a historic U.S. brand that's been around forever, will continue on and get new models. So
that's right.
We got that coming up and more on Cruise Control. And I think I'd like to get more of your take on this pink teddy bear, Les. It seems like a new safety type device. I don't know. I mean, maybe it walks out and goes like this in the middle of the street, and you have to stop.
Well, you would certainly notice it.
Yeah, you would certainly notice it. But we'll talk about this. We'll just say it is used for situational awareness. How's that for a
yes?
Yeah, to test situational awareness of drivers. So we'll talk about that and more when we come back on Cruise Control Radio. Also, one thing I want to talk about are these two things. these are continuation E-Type Jag. We'll tell you about that. Who wouldn't want to buy a new E-Type Jag? You'll be able to do it. We'll tell you how when we come back on Cruise Control Radio, your on-air automotive magazine with Fred Staub and Les Jackson. Stay tuned. Cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Cruise Control Radio is your on-air automotive magazine. It looks like our Facebook deal may not be streaming, so I'm going to check that out. So it looks like we may have stopped down on that. We'll see what's going on.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't like that. I'm going to shut it off and turn it on again.
Well, while you do that, I'm going to fill my water glass.
All right, sounds good. And I'll just talk to our audience about what's going on here on Cruise Control. We'll see what's going on our Facebook feed. Couple interesting things going on today in automotive history. And I love doing this. It's 365 Days of Motoring is the name of this site. We pulled this up. 73 years ago, there was a car called the Playboy. It was introduced at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City, produced by the Playboy Motor Corporation of Buffalo. It was powered by a 4-cylinder, 40-horsepower Continental or Hercules engine and featured an all-steel convertible disappearing top. They produced fewer than 100 cars before going bankrupt in 1951. That was on this day, Saturday, the 13th of March in 1948. The Playboy, the 1948 Playboy.
In 5.
We're coming back to Cruise Control.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control Radio, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson.
Yes, he is.
We're taking you on a ride around the automotive industry. And we're driving on over to Ford, Les Jackson, to talk about their Super Duties, which are some very stout-looking trucks. Super Duty 2022. It's going to increase customer convenience, connectivity, and personalization. And who doesn't like to personalize their vehicles, right?
Well, very true. And by the way, the theme so far of this hour is expensive vehicles.
This is true. This is true. Expensive vehicles seem to be the norm nowadays, and it seems like that we're just going to see more and more of those. I think will this trend continue with electric vehicles, Les?
I think so. But we're talking. It's two different worlds out there.
Yeah, it sure is.
But this Super Duty is incredible. The suspension travel. Look at that.
Yeah, the suspension travel's amazing. Of course, Ford has been the truck leader for 44 consecutive years. And these are upgrades to the existing Super Duty. They're going to get some special additions, including the Tremor, which I believe is a package that started on the F-150. And that is, as you were saying, features bigger wheels, more aggressive tires, or super aggressive-looking tires, and a higher ride height from the factory. I would say this is an $80,000 truck easily, probably, wouldn't you?
Yep. Yeah.
You're going to have the optional 7.3-liter V8, also known as the Godzilla, which is a big pushrod V8. Or you can get the 6.7-liter Power Stroke diesel that delivers 1,050 pound-feet of torque and the best-in-class 475 horsepower. Really tuned for torque, that diesel is, isn't
You
it?
could tow a small planet.
You could tow a small planet with that, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're available with Copilot 360 with features to help assist in your work and keeping you safe. And they are all proudly made at the Kentucky plant in Louisville, Kentucky, and the Ohio assembly plant in Avon Lake, Ohio. And they'll be available this summer for your lighter duty work, Les Jackson. Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff that they make those. And as I said, that trimmer package is available, I believe, on the F-150 as well. So good looking package there. Imagine that thing with all that torque with that diesel engine and those big tires. That's going to be able to grab through and do some work on the ranch, I would say, right?
Yeah, well, look at the tow capacity.
Yeah. What is the tow capacity? I don't.
24,200.
Oh my God. Okay, that's probably with the dually, I would imagine. Maximum gooseneck.
Right.
Yeah.
That's 12 tons.
Well, you do see these things, these vehicles, acting as small car carriers. I've seen them where they have 3 or 4 cars on a ramp, and certainly they can handle that. But cool stuff. Cool stuff. Big trucks over at Ford. Les, you have restored some Jag Eve types in your past, haven't you?
Yes, indeed. I owned one of those 66 coupes that I fully restored, and then also a V12 early 70s version.
Well,
and they're beautiful cars. A little bit temperamental, the original ones.
And a lot of people used to replace that V12 with a Chevy V8. There was a kits to do that.
In fact, that's what we did with that one.
And it probably is a nice upgrade, I would imagine, right?
Much lighter, much more powerful.
And now I'm sure somebody would put an LS engine in there because that would be even better. And you could, with that long hood, you could set it way back, couldn't you?
Way back, behind the wheels, behind the front wheels.
Yeah. Well, if you want to stay a little bit more, what shall we say, authentic to the original vehicle, Jaguar is celebrating the 60th anniversary of the E-Type. One of my favorite vehicles. I like the coupe. I always liked the coupe with the hatch that opens sideways in the back. It was one of the first times you had 4 exhaust pipes come out in the center of the car. I thought that was pretty cool. They're going to do continuation versions of these. They're creating 6 limited edition matched pairs of restored 3.8 E-Type sports cars known by the iconic 9600 HP and 77 RW numbers. They were launched in 1961 in Geneva. And apparently the PR guy drove one of them across Europe. Bob Berry, the publicist, he drove it to the launch, and he basically had to really wring it out to get it there, right?
That is very true. He did 150 on the Autobahn.
Wow. And because I guess journalists were standing around looking for it, and they were wondering where it was. And so he did that, and they're kind of commemorating that. I believe they're going to do a drive of that route he took to get from England to Geneva, which sounds fun, doesn't it? Coventry to Geneva drive experience.
We should do that.
Yeah, but these 6 customers, you get two of the cars. One is a drop head and one is a coupe. What will they cost?
Now, they don't say anything about the price.
I can tell you it's high.
But I happen to have talked to somebody that claims they know,
Okay.
and they're going to be close to 400,000 each.
I would say that's less than I thought. I mean, each one takes 100 hours to build by hand, and it is a labor of love. And there's only 6 of them, or there's a total of 12, but means 6 customers because you have to buy 2 cars each. Uh, and I bet they're sold out already, wouldn't you say?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But you're looking at, probably $1 million a pair.
You're probably looking at $1 million a pair. Yeah. That is amazing. Cool stuff. And I remember when they were fairly common on the street, and I thought they were cool. They looked different. I liked how the bumpers came around in the back to protect the side. I thought that was a cool look. I liked the hatchback. I thought that was useful. And the ones you did, you said they were convertibles or coupes.
One coupe, one convertible.
Yeah. What were the big problems with restoring them?
Rust, lots and lots of rust, and also the rear end assembly is very complicated. Nice engineering,
Didn't
but
that has the
many,
brakes on
many-
the inside, right?
right, and many bearings. Tremendous numbers of parts in them that all had to be set up perfectly.
Wow. Wow. It must have been an expensive car to build when it was initially built. And the other weird thing about it is it has 3 windshield wipers, right?
That's right.
So
One of which had a tendency to fall off.
that's parts falling off is never a good look when you have a car. Or any car. I think that would go into cars today even. Well, we have to talk about this next story, Les Jackson, because it is a weird one. And the IIHS, Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, is using giant pink teddy bears to save lives. This is one of their weirder bits of, investigation, I'll call it. So they have strapped these things to the back of cars. It's an unusual safety experiment, and it's to test how level 2 semi-autonomous driver technology, such as GM Super Cruise or Tesla's Autopilot. Remember, we said level 2. That means you have to keep your hands on the wheel, and it will do some lane keeping. It will do some braking with adaptive
Some
cruise.
braking, some acceleration.
Yeah. Well, we'll tell you about this when we come back, how these teddy bears were put into service to make sure you're safer in the future. So stay tuned to that. We've got plenty more to go. And we'll tell you about that brand that won't be coming to the U.S. and saving the others. So stay tuned to Cruise Control. Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We'll be right back. All right. Teddy bears, saving teddy bears. We love that. Bump, 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 bump. All right.
Yeah, their findings are interesting and not surprising.
Interesting and not surprising. Okay, it appears that our Facebook feed has failed. I'm sorry about that, but if obviously if you're looking for us on Facebook, you won't be able to hear me. But we're glad our YouTube folks are with us. We'll figure out why that Facebook feed is not going, and we'll get back to you on that. And we'll make sure our YouTube feed is going, which I'm sure it is, but let's just double check it.
I'm checking Facebook in general.
Yeah, our YouTube feed is going live. we are live there.
Okay, there's. Well,
Yep, we are.
it says live, except that it's not doing anything.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it could be a problem with Facebook too. So we'll look into that for you. We will look into that for you and see what's going on with that. Could be a Facebook problem. I know I was having a problem with them last night when we were putting up some videos that it just wouldn't take it. Yeah, it does say live, even though I don't see it. So yeah. All right.
You broke it. You broke it.
I broke Facebook. How did I break Facebook? That's terrible.
They're going to get angry at you.
I don't know. We'll see. Oh no, I see what it is. We're saving it on. We were sharing it on another space. That's what it was.
Oh. Patrick, our producer, sees us.
Excellent. All right. I think we may have it fixed now.
See, we hardly ever mention Patrick, our producer, but he's out there.
He's been there for a long time.
He's out there at the studio, and he has to look at us all the time.
Hard duty, I think.
You know, that's a hard job. He's got to put up with us.
Yep. But when we come back...
Oh, so hard.
Oh, so hard. We thank Patrick for all his good work behind the scenes. When we come back...
He's very patient.
Do you use the level 2 equipment in your press cars, Les? I do. I've
Always.
started...
Always.
I love adaptive cruise control, which will keep, if someone pulls in front, it will slow me down. I've started to use the lane keeping more. It's called a bunch of different things. Pro Pilot. It's, branded in a number of different ways. It's good stuff. Here we go.
Blind spot detection.
Cruise control.
Welcome back to Cruise Control. Before we broke for the commercial segment here, we were talking about an interesting test that the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety performed by strapping a giant pink teddy bear to the back of their test vehicles and measuring people's reactions.
Yeah. What do you think about this? There are people that drive along and just don't notice things,
That's precisely the problem. If people aren't noticing that, then what are they noticing?
Okay, well, they use a lot of different very high-end methods for crashing vehicles and testing vehicles, and what they did, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety strapped a giant stuffed teddy bear dressed in a high-visibility jacket to the back of the car and compared the reactions of 3 different groups of drivers to see if they noticed it as they drove past. Well, why wouldn't you? How couldn't you notice it? I mean, I'd be like, that's weird. I mean, I don't know. Maybe some people...
Because you're paying attention.
I'm paying attention, and I'm just looking around. But, during the journey, the car with the pink teddy bear strapped to the back of the vehicle overtook each driver 3 times and stayed in front for around 30 seconds. Cameras then recorded the driver's reaction. Each driver was asked if they noticed anything unusual. If the answer was yes, they were asked how many times they saw the bear. The IIHS found that over twice as many people in experience who didn't regularly use Level 2 autonomous tech failed to notice the bear. By contrast, nearly every driver who regularly used the technology and had switched it on saw the bear. This group was also more likely to correctly identify how many times it appeared. So this was a small test group. So basically what they're saying, if I can boil this down, is if you have the adaptive cruise on, if you have the lane keeping on, you're more likely to not be concentrating on keeping the car in the groove or not hitting the car in front of you, but you can then notice certain things like a bear stuck to the back of the truck, right?
Yeah. Um, that's hopefully what they're trying to prove. Obviously, you need to test this with hundreds of thousands of people, but because you could say that the people that didn't notice the bear were kind of zoned out
White
and
line
not paying
fever.
attention to anything.
White line fever, which is a real thing, isn't it? Target fixation.
Pareidolia is the psychological term for it.
Wow. So I also think some people just don't take driving seriously enough. And, you know, they are not. I'm constantly, what did the Army used to say, a head on a swivel? I'm always looking around, checking the mirrors,
Mm-hmm.
seeing if anyone's doing anything crazy or some guy coming up at 100 miles an hour. You got to do that. You got to just be aware as much as you can be, and things can still happen, but you try to be aware of that. I always, there was that commercial during the winter. I think it was for Mercedes with the doll that was strapped to the front grill of a
Yeah.
plow truck.
Yeah, the little fuzzy doll.
I always felt bad for the little fuzzy doll.
Me too. I thought it was a sad little commercial.
And it almost was like torturing someone, hanging them on the front of a grill of a vehicle. You know, it just I never thought it was good. It's okay if you want to like decorate your truck and put a wreath on the front of the grill. I still wouldn't do that. I don't like hanging stuff on the truck or putting stickers on it or that. I just like to keep it clean. Don't you?
I still have my high school graduation tassel.
Is that right next to the little pine tree air freshener?
Yeah, it's a little bit grungy.
Don't you, do you remember where that air freshener line came from Repo Man? He looked up and he said, every car's got one when it comes to the air freshener.
Yeah.
You ever see the guys that hang like 10 around their, it must really smell in there.
I've seen some taxis in the past that had, just 20 of them hung inside.
Yeah, it's not a good
Ooh.
sign. Not a good
Ooh.
sign. Try cleaning your car a little bit instead of just trying to mask it. You know, like maybe vacuum it out and shampoo the seats or something like that. You know, they make sprays and stuff for that stuff. So we talked about this, you and I, a little bit before, that Peugeot was going to come back to the U.S. They were in the U.S. I remember them.
Yep.
It was a very interesting thing around where I lived. There was a company that had Oldsmobile diesels as taxi cabs, and they were a complete failure.
Whoa.
As you know why. We know that story.
Mm-hmm.
And then they switched to Peugeot taxi cabs with diesels in it. And I remember there used to be a commercial that aired all the time, and they would sing the phrase, "Now you know Peugeot."
Yes, for a short time. Then they pulled out. But the diesel was their last model in
I
the
believe
US.
so. I believe so. It had a weird design. The trunk lid came straight out and then bent down, like somebody sat on it and bent it down. Well, there was some talk they were coming back, and this really got jazzed up, this talk, when Stellantis merged with Fiat Chrysler. And they said, well, you know, Peugeot makes some beautiful cars. If you ever go to Europe, if any of us ever end up going traveling again, I always would see Peugeot cars. I would see like cool cars, and I'd walk over and look at it and say, oh, it's a Peugeot. That's a great-looking sedan.
They're very popular.
Yeah, very cool-looking vehicles. But there was some talk they would come back. They are not coming back. Interesting, Larry Dominique, we know him from a number of places, was put in charge of Peugeot, and he even started putting together online sales of Peugeot models. Started working on this. He was pulled off of that and has now been reassigned to lead the Alfa Romeo brand in North America. and they're going to focus on existing brands, which this means that more than likely the Chrysler brand is not going to go away and we'll get new product. Now, some of that product might be from the Peugeot lineup and might be heavily modified, which could be exciting, couldn't it? I mean, Chrysler, all they have right now is the 300 and the Pacifica. Pacifica is great. They have the hybrid version, and it's a wonderful vehicle, but just having a minivan and an outdated large sedan is not the best place to be in.
And the 300 is basically a grandfather clock.
Yeah, although it is still a good value.
Oh, it's a terrific car, but boy, is it old technology.
Yeah, really old technology. It's sort of like the Grand Marquis, became. They probably still sell a decent amount of them, but it certainly needs a refresh. It will be interesting to see what Peugeots will be changed over to Chryslers. I'm going to go out and make a radical prediction, Les, that some of their crossovers will become Chryslers.
Gee.
That's going out on a leg, isn't it?
I can't imagine what makes you say that.
Well, we'll have to see what Peugeots will come in under the Chrysler name. I'm sure Chrysler needs some help, and the dealers are saying, yes, please send us some product. But we appreciate you listening to Cruise Control Radio. Don't forget to check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check out the YouTube feed for more videos and more. Time for me to say, I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We're going to see you down the road.
Bye.
All right. Hello, Facebook Live. Hello, YouTube Live. Fred Staub and Les Jackson here. Les, you were on a little break. I was just telling some people about things that happened today in the automotive world a number of years ago. And one of them, Saturday, March 13th, 1948, the Playboy, it's a car, was introduced at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City, made by the Playboy Motor Company Corporation of Buffalo, powered by a 4-cylinder, 40-horsepower Continental or Hercules engine. Sounds sort of like a fork truck engine, doesn't it?
It does. I actually saw a Playboy car at a car show years ago.
Well, they had a
very small
all-steel convertible, disappearing top. They built fewer than 100 cars before going bankrupt in 1951. Imagine doing a restoration on that. That would be good luck.
Yeah. Where do you get the parts?
Yeah. And then another interesting thing on this day in March 12th of 1831, Clement Studebaker was born. Clement Studebaker, in South Bend, Indiana, and they founded the company in 1852, H.C. Studebaker and Company, to build wagons and provide blacksmithing services.
Conestoga wagons. They were the ones that made those.
And then by 14, Clement had become a skilled blacksmith. By 14, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
People were a lot tougher back then, weren't they?
People from that era, if they came here and looked at us, they would just think we were the biggest babies on the face of the earth.
Well, he went on, of course, to make a number of cars, and they actually made an electric car in 1902, and it hit the market in 1902. First production automobile from Studebaker featured an electric motor and hit the market in 1902. I always find that unique. Of course, electric cars now the big thing. That's what we're going to talk about in this next hour of Cruise Control. One of the first stories is a battery breakthrough. GM saying they can get 600 miles of range. But back at the turn of the century, electric cars were the bomb. They were it. They were where it was going. And gas powered. What are you? You're going to have to fill it with gas. So it's kind of funny how life goes in a full circle sometimes, isn't it? Might take a while, but
it really is. And there were, I think, close to 80 brands that were electric.
Yeah, close to 80 brands. I wonder what the range of those early cars were.
About 25 to 40 miles.
So they are about what our plug-in hybrids are now.
Yeah, but if you think about it, that was a long way.
Back then, yeah, because some people never traveled 20 miles away from where they were born in their lifetime.
Yeah.
So if you could go 20 miles, and the only problem would be that back then, we don't have electric charging infrastructure yet built all the way out. But back then, you just didn't have electricity infrastructure. So it might be hard to find a plug-in model. I would like to research some of these early cars, like the Baker and that, and how long did it take to charge? They were lead-acid batteries, I'm sure. So, but you look at these new batteries from GM. Here are a couple of them. It's pretty cool in a sense that, these things are small, and they'll be able to stuff a lot of them into cars. And I think this is just going to get better and better and better. 600-mile range. I'm going to make a weird prediction here that eventually there will be an electric car that will have enough charge in it that you never have to charge it during the life of the car. 100,000. Let's say 100,000
That's entirely
miles.
possible.
And you might be able to replace the battery at 100,000 miles, much like you would rebuild an engine. But what do you think of that? Do you think that's possible?
I think it is. It's just energy storage. Don't think battery. Think energy storage.
And let's just look at Mark Royce from GM was talking about the 600-mile range as a possibility. There's no ranging. That's like a diesel car range almost. Maybe they can get a little bit better, but 600 miles, I know you could go halfway down the East Coast with that.
Well, I'm going to make a prediction, Mr. Fred.
Okay.
I predict that before 2030, a car company will take a stock version of their electric car with perhaps a larger, much larger battery, and they will demonstrate it by driving from New York to San Francisco.
I think that's quite possible. It's interesting that you mention that, because coming up, we're going to talk about Volkswagen. There's a lot of news about Volkswagen. Of course, they aim to be the electric leader. And they are driving a ID4 cross country using, which is ID4 is their brand new, soon to be available crossover, fully battery electric vehicle. They are driving that across country on the southern route. There are basically three routes across the U.S., and I'm lucky enough to have driven across on all of them. So there's an upper, there's a middle, and there's a lower. And they're taking the lower route, and they're going to be heading out. But here we go. I'll bring us in.
This is Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine with co-hosts Fred Staub and Les Jackson. Everything you need to know about new and used cars. Industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin because you're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub, and he is Les Jackson. We've got a great hour of automotive information, new reveals, new models, new technology. The automotive world is changing, and we're glad you're along with us for, to keep up on all the changes, Les. It's a moving story. It's a moving target, isn't it?
Always is.
Yeah.
Nothing ever stays the same.
No, exactly. So we're going to lead off this hour with a battery breakthrough. GM says a 600-mile range from a battery electric might be just around the corner. We'll take a look at their new battery developments. It's getting exciting, Les.
It is, and meanwhile, over at Tesla...
Bum, bum, bum. I don't have the organ.
Is the love affair over, perhaps, with challenges to its full self-driving capability and its new steering wheel that nobody likes?
Yeah, it looks like the shine may be off the apple a little bit over at Tesla, at least as it comes, as it relates to government and regulation. And it has to change. The old way of buying a car from a dealer is changing rapidly. At Hyundai and Mitsubishi, we'll tell you about how it's changing, I think for the better. And one Ford dealer is told to cut it out with its dealer-added markup on the Mach-E. I think they have to put an end to that stuff.
Well, we'll see what happens there. And meanwhile, over at Volkswagen, they're ready to enter the $25,000 electric vehicle market.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, you almost are not. It's getting to the point where cars are $40,000, $50,000, and that's the normal price. So It's good to see somebody bringing it back down to earth. And also, we're going to tell you what automotive brand is the most popular with women and why, and it's interesting. It's an old brand.
Yes, it is. And you have an at-the-wheel review, don't you?
Yeah, I'm going to be reviewing the Arteon, which is the halo vehicle for Volkswagen. We'll talk about that, the Arteon R line with 4Motion. So pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff, Les Jackson. It's all on Cruise Control. That's the show you're listening to. Don't forget to check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com, where you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. It's all there and more. And we're glad you're along for the ride. The other thing I want to talk about, too, is the fact that some manufacturers are saying if we go all electric, we have to change all the names of our vehicle. We'll kind of kick that around. Do you think they have to do that or not? Or can they continue on with some of the current models? Well, we'll talk about that and more on Cruise Control when we come back. Stay tuned. What do you think, Les Jackson? Do they have to do that?
I don't see why they have to do that. But they don't ask me.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't know. You don't know if they why they would think that. I don't know why they would think that, but some do.
Differentiation, I guess.
I don't know. Well, I really don't. As I said before earlier, people that were listening, by the way, hello to our Facebook Live and YouTube Live audiences. We're glad you are here. And if you have a comment or you want to see something on the show, you want us to get a guest on the show, talk about a specific vehicle, just put it down there in the comments. We'd love to do it. We've got a lot to get to this hour. Rapidly, most stories are dominated by electric cars. It seems like it's going to start moving quicker and quicker and quicker to electric cars, and we'll keep you up to date if you're thinking about buying an electric car or even a plug-in hybrid, something like that, which you and I think is a kind of a good stopgap, isn't it?
I think it's a great way to go. It's no downside to it.
No. So we'll talk about that. And I'm going to be reviewing the Arteon, which is pretty cool. That is going to be coming up here soon on this vehicle. We'll get that rolling for you. Had a fun week in that vehicle. Very unique. A lot of people commented on it that they had never seen that vehicle, which is either good or bad because, it's been around for a while, hasn't it?
It has. I'm thinking upwards of 4 years.
Yeah. It is their Halo car, and it was designed to be their Halo car. But it is a car. And one of my questions I talked about in my review is, can a sedan, be a Halo anymore? I don't know. I don't know if it can. It seems like it can.
Good question.
We're going to talk also about Volvo. Volvo in the U.S., 80% of their sales are crossovers. 80%. So really, that's why they're no longer going to build sedans. They're just not going to sell them anymore, or wagons. And it's a shame, but they're not going to build things that people don't want. You're coming in.
Here we go.
Yes, indeed.
Cruise Control.
Welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred and I are raring to go. We got a lot of electric stuff to talk about.
Electrifying.
And that's right, electric vehicles. GM has announced they have a battery electric that is capable of 600-mile range. I believe it. What do you think?
I believe it. Yes, it's called the Ultium, and it is a small battery pack. And the chemistry, they call it the Ultium battery chemistry. It's announced as a joint development agreement with the lithium metal battery innovator Solid Energy Systems. And some of the technology here, GM's lithium metal battery will have a protected anode, which will feature a combination of affordability, high performance, and energy density. And the prototype of this has already completed 150,000 simulated test miles at research and development labs at GM's Global Tech Center in Warren, Michigan. They are working with several innovative companies to accelerate this. And the big story, the big takeaway from this was Mark Royce has said that potentially 600-mile range might be just around the corner. You can go pretty far with 600 miles, can't you?
You can go from D.C. here to Atlanta.
It's pretty amazing.
That's terrific.
And I'm sure that these will involve fast charging capability. And the batteries get smaller and smaller. The density gets higher and higher. I think it's moving pretty quickly here. That, it seems like the technology is accelerating as more and more car manufacturers switch over to electric vehicles. It's just going to accelerate even further, right?
It will, just like cell phone technology did back in the 90s and the battery life.
Yeah. Now,
it happened overnight.
I believe they call these pouch batteries. They look like a battery in a pouch. Sort of like your cell phone was in the pocket. They are small. They can be fit. They can be stacked. They can be, put where you want the weight. And, I think it's an exciting time. Don't get me wrong. I love the sound of V8s. And I was even thinking the other day that perhaps one day they will make the car sound like a V8, an electric car sound like a V8. I also like the whir of it, though, don't you? The whir of electric cars, I think they sound pretty cool.
Yeah. I think you're right in both cases.
So we're just going to see more and more of these developments. Eventually, there'll be an even bigger development, and you'll have something that is so small that will give you 1,000-mile range. Or even, as I said during the break, there may potentially be a time where you buy an electric car, it is charged, and it's good for, let's say, 100,000 miles. Theoretically, a car that is charged for life. So it is a sealed drivetrain. Sorry, tuners. It is a sealed drivetrain, and it will just run until it doesn't run, and then I guess you either recycle it or you get a new battery pack. Is that too crazy to think that far out in the future?
I don't think so. I really don't.
I think there's a real potential for this. So let's stay on the trend, on point with some of these electric developments. Over at Tesla, I know. Over at Tesla, the Model S Plaid, which is their performance model, Model S Plaid Plus, has been delayed. Elon Musk has upped the price to this vehicle. It has a 520-mile range in the Plaid Plus option, and it will be priced well up there, $139,990. But if you want the full self-driving package, and we will talk about that a little bit later on, larger wheels and the white exterior. Why do you pay more for white paint, Les? I don't get that. White interior, I'm sure. Why do you pay more for a white interior? I don't know. With all that included, it will be $167,490. It's getting a bit strange, isn't it?
It is strange. We're getting into Ferrari territory here.
Yeah. So weird stuff, but we'll talk about that. I'm sure there are people that will buy that. But some of the other developments at Tesla, they may want to buy, but they may not be able to buy, including that yoke steering wheel and the full self-driving capability, which turns out is not full self-driving capability. Can't call it that. We'll talk about that and more when we come back on Cruise Control. Yeah, full self-driving, I think there's a problem with Tesla and what they call things because it is not full self-driving. It is a level 2 system, which it can be found like GM Super Cruise, Volvo's ProPilot, Nissan, I forget what they call it, but that is all the type thing we're talking about, which is a level 2 system, which means you have to keep your hands on the wheel, but it will steer the car. It will keep it in the lane on turns.
Right.
It will do braking, as far as adaptive cruise control and that. Some of them will in a traffic jam mode, they will brake the car automatically, right?
They will, but it doesn't mean it works 100% of the time.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it works 100% of the time. So we have to see what's going to happen with this. But all in all, the takeaway on this next story, when we come back after the break, is the fact that it seems the shine is off Tesla, that the government is really taking them, NHTSA is really taking them to task about this stuff, and just, kind of running your marketing mouth and saying stuff is full self-driving when it's not is a bad idea. It could be a dangerous idea, right?
Well, yeah, that's right.
So anyway, we'll talk more about that and more on Cruise Control when we come back. It's just a lot going on with Tesla and more. So let's stay tuned. We're glad you're here. All here. They are Facebook Live audience and our YouTube Live audience. We're glad you're all here. Drop us a comment if you get a moment and a story you'd like us to cover or something you like to, some guest you'd like us to get on, and we will do it, right?
We absolutely will. We'll, if we don't have a response right away, we'll certainly research it and get back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
But we usually, we're not making it up, but we usually know the answer.
We're not making it up.
In 5.
All right. We're coming back in 5. Do you want to bring us in?
Sure.
All right.
Control.
And there we are. Welcome back to Cruise Control. Les and Fred here. We were talking about Tesla, which is, let's just say the shine is off the apple.
You like that term, don't you?
Yeah. But you know, they're running into a little bit of difficulty.
Yeah.
With the self-driving mode, which we should talk about. You of course covered it quite well in the last segment.
Well, it's basically, I think here to boil it down is it was kind of led people to believe it was level 5. Level 5 full self-driving vehicles would basically be like a transporter egg that you get in.
Mm-hmm.
No steering wheel, no controls. It just does its thing. It'd be great for a taxi cab, a shuttle of some kind. You know, you can't control it. There's no need for you to control it. It just basically takes you where you want to go, and that's it. And then level 2 is what we see in a variety of vehicles now. There's a lot of different levels of level 2, I think. It means you have to keep your hands on the wheel, but it will keep it in the lane. It will stop it. Certain cars stop in different ways, different speeds. Some will bring the vehicle to a full stop if they have pedestrian safety or something like that. That's level 2. That's almost fairly common nowadays, wouldn't you say?
That is extremely common. Available.
Available. I always like that word. It's available.
Yeah, but it's not autonomous.
No, it's not autonomous. It's a system.
That's where we draw the line.
Well, Tesla was talking about what it calls FSD, full self-driving capability. And it was told that the SAE International On-Road Automated Vehicle Standards Committee considers level 2 ability to be the vehicle either handling acceleration and deceleration and steering or both. But that full self-driving suggests that the vehicle would drive itself, and that is incorrect. I think they're going to have to change this name. I think they're also going to have to change the name from autopilot too. But one of the other, and remember, they are telling customers that they are going to be charged $1,000 for this, $10,000 for this capability, but it may not be activated if the government gets involved, right?
Well, that's right. You can't sell something that is either illegal or can't actually do what your advertising claims it'll do.
Yeah, and it could be dangerous as well if you make people think it can do that, and they try to make it do that, and guess what? It doesn't do that, you know?
And they have a history of that.
The other thing we should talk about is Tesla's yoke steering wheel. Basically, they cut the top off the wheel, and it's almost like a butterfly in what we call butterfly in a dragster. You got two hands, and that works in a dragster because you're not going to be going like this, turning the wheel. You're not hopefully going to be turning the wheel much at all. If you do that in a dragster, you'll be upside down. You know, the steering rack is so quick, you know. So they have come up with this. They showed this. And a lot of people have said, is that legal? And one country, I believe it was it Finland or the Netherlands, said it was. How bizarre is that? I mean, they said that was legal. But there's a lot of thought that it would not be legal in the U.S. and it would not meet the federal motor vehicle safety standards. They cannot determine if it meets it or not. Do you think it's legal? I don't know.
No, it's not legal by U.S. standards, and even if it was legal, it shouldn't be legal just because it's ugly. I'm sorry, it's just ugly.
Yeah, I just don't see the need to change it either. I mean, just to change it for the, to make it different, just to say, hey, we want to be different, it just doesn't mean. So that's what's going on at Tesla. They have one model delayed that's getting even more expensive. They have the yoke wheel, not sure if it's legal or not, and the full self-driving is not level 5. It really is level 2, which makes it similar to many systems already out there.
But you get to pay $10,000 for
it. Where it comes on many vehicles for a lot less money. So, all right, I know. We're not Tesla haters. We just like to call people out that say things like
We're skeptics.
We're skeptics, and I think that's a good thing. Another good thing to be skeptical about, Les, is the buying practices. Going to the dealer, I think they're stuck somewhere in the 50s, car dealers. Some of them. And the old thing of feeling that you have to get worked over, and it's this negotiation where people go into other rooms and talk to their manager, or worse, throw keys up on the roof and can I get your business today stuff. And, I think that has to go away, don't you?
Well, it does. The only thing that really has to stay around is the trade-in.
The trade-in and service. You got to take your car somewhere to, if there's a warranty issue or service or whatever. Well, Mitsubishi is rolling out ClickShop, which is a custom 24-hour digital showroom across its entire network. Customers can now browse current dealer inventory, build a custom deal, submit a credit application, and book an in-person or virtual appointment anytime, anywhere. Sounds like a good first step, doesn't it?
I like it.
I
like it.
Mitsubishi Click Car, they're calling it. And we're going to have some folks on from Mitsubishi because they're doing a lot. They're really freshening up their lineup, bringing on some more vehicles. And I think this is a great way to differentiate themselves where you don't have to go in there. You don't have to sit there. You don't have to listen to the BS. You just want to buy a car, And let me ask you this. For you, if you were buying a car, and let's just say you weren't an automotive journalist, would you pay a higher price at MSRP or slightly below if you could do away with all the BS? In other words, say, here's our price, here's the MSRP, we'll discount it a couple of $1,000. That's the price, no haggle. You pay for it, whether you bring in a check or you do your own financing, and we'll just do everything real easy and no hijinks or arm twisting. Would you pay more for less arm twisting, or do you like the arm twist?
No, I don't like the arm twisting. I there's something about haggling that offends me. I don't know why, but so no, I would gladly just pay the the discounted whatever price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like buying anything else.
Yeah, you buy something on Amazon, you see the price. If you think it's too much, you don't buy it. If you say, I think that's okay, and it seems all right, then you buy it. I just don't like the dance and like, hey, here comes a guy, let's work him over, and I just don't like that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be more manufacturers switching to this way of doing business. We've told you a little bit about Mitsubishi, and Hyundai is taking a page from Tesla, and they're doing a $100 reservation for their new Tucson, which has got people very excited. We'll tell you about that when we come back. We'll also tell you how one Ford dealer got yelled at for doing a $10,000 over sticker charge, which I think is good. Glad to see. All that and more on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Stay tuned. Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We will be right back. Yeah, I would love to see some of our listeners and watchers on YouTube Live and Facebook Live, if they want to talk about their buying experiences. Would you pay more for a vehicle if you could have a fair price, less than MSRP, maybe not a lot less, but you didn't have to haggle? You're like, great, sounds good. I'll take the blue one with those options. Let's write it up. You know, here's my credit card and put down a down payment and just go from there. Would you do that? Let's put that in our comments on both Facebook and on YouTube. What we're going to get to when we come back on the live show is Hyundai taking down $100 deposits for their Tucson. Going to be a very popular car. And that kind of, when they do that, apparently that takes out the ability of dealers to mark things up ridiculously. They were also going to tell you about the story about Ford with the Mach-E. Some dealer was asking for over $10,000 over MSRP. Just wrote it on there. Dealer adjustment. And one of our journalist friends saw it, contacted Ford. Ford contacted the dealer and said, don't do that. And they took it off. But I think that's wrong. I think, I would never do that. I would never pay over MSRP. Never.
No, I wouldn't either.
Because that's just like, giving them a $10,000 tip. And, if everyone's doing that, you don't do it. You don't condone that kind of behavior. You just don't do that. I'll bring us in, Les.
You're up.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control Radio. Fred Staub and Les Jackson. Cruise Control. It's the show you're dialed into. Don't forget to check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com, where you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check out the YouTube page, the Les Jackson feature, his socks from the beginning of time. It's all there. It's all there. So check us out, cruisecontrolradio.com. We were talking a little bit on the show before the break about how buying a vehicle has changed. COVID actually has kind of forced this a little bit. The old way used to be you go in, you get worked over for 4 hours, and you come out the end of the pasta machine feeling a little bit beaten up. You have a new car and maybe not completely happy with the experience, certainly maybe a little exhausted, right, Les?
Yeah, that's what people constantly complain about, and it's there's no reason for it.
No, we're all used to buying things on Amazon. You pick it, you click it, you get a price. You say, okay, I'll either pay that price or I won't pay that price, and there's the whole transaction's pretty quick.
That's it.
Well, we've told you a little bit about Mitsubishi, and we're just about to tell you about Hyundai. Hyundai has the great Hyundai Tucson coming out. They've released some pricing. We'll get to that in a minute on their Tucson. And they are going to take a reservation of $100 for the vehicle. Customers can reserve their spot and will be among the first to own the all-new Tucson when it arrives at the dealership. This is also a way, it's fully refundable, and I think this is a way for people to basically avoid the markup at dealerships. That what do they call it? The dealer added value?
ADM, added dealer markup.
Yeah, which just means I'm going to increase the price and you pay it. So I think that's got to change. That's got to go away. I mean, one of our automotive journalist friends saw a dealer had a Ford Mustang Mach-E on their showroom floor, and they just wrote on the sticker $10,000 more adjusted value, right? Literally wrote it in with hand. He contacted the folks at Ford, and they called the dealer and said, take that off. Because while they can do it, I think it's just wrong. I think it is the wrong way to go. They say, the manufacturers say, oh, these are independent businesses. They can do what they want. But, yeah, that's your product. You know, that's like a guy walking around with your uniform on and, you know, your work uniform on and doing crazy things. Who are they going to blame? They're going to blame the company, not the guy. They're going to say, why'd you hire him? And a member of the Mach-E forum noticed this, who is also one of our journalist friends, and the post went up. The dealer dropped it. I tell our listeners never buy stuff for over MSRP because it's not the only one. And if it's a new model, you can wait 3 or 4 months. It's probably going to get better. It's probably going to have troubles worked out. And you know what? I mean, let's look at the C8 Corvette. The second year got no charge options, no charge features like wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and a number of other ones included because they just weren't available at launch. And so what's the big deal? Wait a year, and they fix like hundreds of items, and you don't have to play the game then. I would just walk out the door. I'd say I'm not interested. You know, find some other guy that will just, you know, has money to burn. $10,000 on top of this, man, you could buy a lot of things for $10,000, couldn't you?
And it happens a lot.
Yeah. Well, I would just walk out. I almost would walk out of a dealer if I saw that on any cars on the lot, even if I wasn't interested in that car, because it would make me think kind of shady, kind of just opportunist.
Yeah. I would too. I just wouldn't put up with it.
Yeah. What is the possibility of a manufacturer going completely without dealers and just factory service centers? Are those all state laws in the future? I mean, if let's say a new manufacturer starts up, a new electric manufacturer starts up, or you take like Rivian or any of those that are coming out that are kind of we'll call them well-financed electric vehicle manufacturers. Are they going to have dealers, or could they have factory stores?
Most states, due to lobbying by the dealer associations over the decades, have laws that manufacturers can't sell directly. So I don't know. I don't think they can.
I mean, I think back to how Saturn tried to change the buying experience. No suits, no shiny suits, no pinky rings, just Eyes style shirts. And the price was the price, right? That they were one of the first. The price is the price. You just go in there, and you're like, okay, I'll take that silver one. Let's write it up. I believe they used to do a cheer or something. They get around you and do a cheer, which I would be like, that's all right. You don't have to do that. But I have a friend that bought a couple of them, and he said they did that cheer. At first time he bought one of the Saturns, he's like, what are you doing? That was my friend Joe. You know him. He's like, what's going on here? You know, so I think the dealership experience has to change. I think it is changing. And no one wants to go in and feel worked over because you have the best weapon you have. It's those shoes that you're wearing. You just say, you know what? Yep. I'll go somewhere else. And that's the best thing you can do because they can't stop you. Don't give them your keys to your trade. That they can't do. Right. If they do that, call the police. They can't like entrap you in a room and beat you over the head and say, you've got to buy this. Don't let them do that at all. So, hey, let's talk a little bit about Volkswagen. There's a lot of Volkswagen news this week. We could have almost done the whole show on Volkswagen. So Volkswagen is looking at getting into building a $25,000 or less than $25,000 electric vehicle. Of course, Tesla has talked about this. Somehow I think Volkswagen could make it happen a little bit sooner.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. I think this is totally possible once batteries start getting less expensive, more electric vehicles are built. They're really, you're just downsizing the number of batteries and the size of the vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe people would go with a little less range. Maybe it would be something analogous to the Chevy Bolts with 200 or 250 mile range. And that would be your little runaround electric car, right?
I think it makes tremendous sense.
Yeah. They're calling it the electric city cars, expected to be sold for about $23,757, which tells you that's a specific number. So that must mean that they're pretty far along. I mean, you wouldn't say about 25 and say here's 23,757. I don't know what size this will be. Will it be the size of a Golf? Will it be the size of a smaller car? Maybe a Polo. I think it might be the size of the
That's pretty
Polo.
small.
Pretty small. I'm still upset we won't get the ID3 here, which is a Volkswagen's electric Golf, basically. That we have to get the crossover, which nothing wrong with the crossover. I think it looks good, but as we say, that's what people want here, and that's what they're giving them in the form of the ID4, which is actually going to be crossing the country. They're going to do a cross-country drive to a 6,000-mile trip. It's going to start today, March 13th, begins in New York City, and they will go across country charging up at Electrify America locations and hotels that have electric charging. I would like to know how many hotel chains have electric charging yet. Now,
I think, well, all of the major ones.
You think so?
Well, everywhere around here,
They
have charging.
Yeah. And how many chargers do they have? I mean, I think
Usually 3 or 4.
I was going to say 4. Hopefully the guy with the giant pickup doesn't park in their way. Yeah. So also we want to talk about this, and that's something for our audience to send us some notes on Facebook and YouTube. Do you think Volkswagen's saying they will continue the names of their core models on the next generation internal combustion vehicles, but after that they might go with all different names for their electric cars? Do you think a manufacturer has to change all the names of their vehicles if they go all electric? I don't think so, but what do you think? We'll talk about
I don't think so.
On Cruise Control. Stay tuned. Yeah, that's coming up. We're also going to talk about the most popular automotive brand with women, which is Buick.
Mm-hmm.
It is Buick. They market to women, and they have done well with it. Makes sense to grab that because women decide on most cars what cars people buy, right? They are the deciding force.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so I'm also going to have a review of the VW Arteon. I like the vehicle. Big wheels. Big wheels keep on turning. They're a little bumpy, actually. Almost look like a Hot Wheel car. But what's unique about this car, you see it there, it doesn't look like a hatchback, but it is. I opened it up in a parking lot, and people were like, it's a hatchback. They were surprised at it.
Yeah.
This is their Halo car, and it is the red is outstanding. The manufacturers are doing great jobs on red paint. It was just outstanding in the sun. But this was built at a time when cars were considered potential halo vehicles, and it's not the case anymore. I hear some of the interior had great displays on the dash, and it had complete digital cockpit and some haptic controls on the dash. A lot of very familiar Volkswagen controls in there, but I thought it was a nice vehicle. I thought the wheels were a little bit big, and it led to it being a little bit bumpy, clunky on the road. But also, we are dealing with winter in the Northeast here, so it could be.
Yep.
It could be that's what we're dealing with. But we'll have a full review of this vehicle coming up, and including pricing. And ours was the R-Line, R-Line Select. You and I know that we get well-equipped vehicles to drive. The ones in the fleet are always well-equipped.
We do.
Did you ever have a basic vehicle? I think maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, I had one with crank windows.
Yeah. About 3 years ago, I had a Nissan. What the heck was it? It was it was a Toyota Tercel.
Mm-hmm. Right. And
just roll up windows. It was real basic.
You don't really find those much, and they want you to have all the latest and greatest stuff, and that's fine. We don't mind. We don't mind driving them, and we certainly don't mind telling you about them on Cruise Control, because we like to review the vehicles and tell you all about it. I got some more coming up. I've got some Hyundais coming up in the not too distant future. The new MDX. What do you have coming up in your schedule, Les?
I have an Elantra, a Highlander, a Lexus SUV, and a Mazda 3.
Pretty cool. Good stuff. So all coming up on Cruise Control. I'm going to bring us in.
5.
And we'll talk about the most popular brand.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control Radio. I'm Fred Staub. He's Les Jackson. You're on your on-air automotive magazine. So stay tuned, because we've got plenty more to go. We're glad you're along with us. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. You can find all those links over at cruisecontrolradio.com. Which brand is the most popular with women? According to IHS Markit, Buick is the only Detroit automaker with the majority of female customers. It has to do with the fact that they have marketed themselves, featuring female-focused marketing campaign for several years, and it has really paid off dividends. Women favor the Buick features of functionality in vehicles, as well as safety, comfort, reliability, and affordability. Men are more drawn to exterior styling, technology, and ruggedness.
That's us.
Rugged. That's what I picture when
you look at me, you say rugged.
Rugged. Chiseled and rugged. So how about we do an At the Wheel review, Mr. Rugged?
By all means.
Okay.
Please.
All right. Well, let's talk about this vehicle. This vehicle is the Volkswagen Arteon. It is the 2021 Arteon 2-liter SEL R-Line with 4Motion, which is all-wheel drive, basically. This is the halo vehicle for Volkswagen. This is the vehicle that is going to draw people into the showrooms. At least that's how it was designed when it first came out a number of years ago. Kind of came out, I guess, before the whole trend of SUVs, but beautiful vehicle, seldom seen. Some of my neighbors were like, what is that? And I told them, it's an Arteon. They're like, what is that? One of the big things about this vehicle, it is a fairly large sedan, but what will surprise you is when you tilt the big VW logo in the back, you will notice that the back opens up and it is a hatchback. So very rare to see such a big vehicle, four-door sedan, being a hatch. When you agree, Les, you just don't see them.
You just don't.
No, you just don't.
And it's a great idea, and I have yet to see one on the road.
Yeah, it's pretty rare, and there are a number of new things for the Arteon this year, especially on the R line, which is really good that they sent me one of these to review, including a new front end which has a light bar that kind of goes across the grille, which is a nice feature. We've seen a lot of this. Manufacturers lighting up these grills to kind of differentiate the vehicle. It has a front end, a new front end with greater levels of interior refinement, advanced connectivity. It has all of them come with a 268 four-cylinder turbo TSI engine, whether you get front-wheel drive or the all-wheel drive, which is branded as Volkswagen's 4Motion. Digital cockpit, including the MIB, the Men in Black 3, infotainment system, wireless app connect, enhanced voice recognition, USB-C charging. It's interesting. My wife went to charge her phone and said, I can't use this because I don't have USB-C. So I don't know whether that's a plus or a negative. She's like, why won't this fit here? I said, because it's USB-C. And she's like, well, I don't have that. And I said, yep. So that's a problem. It starts at $36,995 and then moves up from there. Ours was really well equipped. It comes in the SE, the SEL, the R line, and the SEL Premium R line. And it's really a mid-cycle refresh. There are things like translucent decor with 30 color ambient lighting options that you can set on the vehicle. Mine was in the King's Red Metallic, which is a very beautiful red, very intense red. The overall impression of this vehicle is low and wide. And I said, it reminds me of a number of vehicles, but one of them, you're going to laugh at, Les Jackson, is the Oldsmobile Aurora. Remember that? That had that low...
I see that.
Yeah.
I see that.
Which was one of the best-looking Oldsmobiles right before they stopped building Oldsmobiles. And let's talk some of the numbers here on this vehicle. As I said, it has that 2-liter 4-cylinder. They all get that. They all get an 8-speed automatic. They all get 19-inch wheels, the R-lines. And then our options, it didn't have a lot of options on it because it was well-equipped at this level. But ours had the King's Red Metallic exterior, which adds $395. As we said, this has become fairly regular to see a upcharge for paint, and we are seeing that more and more commonly on cars. And then I believe that was it. Yeah, no charge, black leather interior because you are paying for the 8-speed, no charge. A destination of $1,195 and brings the price to $44,985. $44,985. This is final assembly point is Emden, Germany, and the engine is from Hungary. Transmission from Japan. It's the 2021 Arteon 2-liter SEL R line, and quite the halo vehicle, I think, for the folks at Volkswagen. A usability factor is high here because of the hatchback. I found the wheels to be very large for the vehicle, so it sort of looked like a Hot Wheels car at times, which is not terrible. But I also found when you're hitting bumps in the chopped up northeastern winter roads, it would tend to pound at times. Boom, boom. You know?
Yeah, well, that's a problem with big wheels and low-profile tires.
Yep. I also found that the transmission seemed almost like a DSG at times. It seemed like it took a little bit to get into gear. Interior room was great. There's a lot of Volkswagen switchgear and and a lot of commonality with other Volkswagens. One of the things it had was haptic controls for air conditioning and heating, and the haptic controls on the steering wheel. So there's not necessarily a button. There's just an area you hold your finger over. For the HVAC, you had to kind of slide your finger from cool to hot. It worked well. I don't have any problem with that. Some people might not like that. I remember a number of years ago, Cadillac had that, and they did away with it and went back to buttons because they thought that was kind of a problem. But I didn't find a problem with that. The question is, can a car be a halo model anymore, a sedan? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
People just aren't interested.
I don't know if there's going to be a second generation of this vehicle, so if you like it, I would definitely look into it. It certainly looks good as far as the low stance of the vehicle, the wide stance of the vehicle. The grille basically runs across the width of the car, so that really gives us that look. Highway mileage, not bad, 31. City mileage, 20, not great, but average of 24. We don't have any crash testing, government 5 stars on this. Was not rated yet, but well equipped. It really stands out. I don't think it's a common car, so you don't see a lot of them. So if you're looking to stand out, you might want to look at the Volkswagen Arteon. Hey, time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We're going to see you down the road.
Bye.
Thank you to our Facebook Live and YouTube Live audience. Remember, shoot those comments to us. You've got questions. What do you think about changing dealerships over to a new way of doing things, more online? And we're always interested in what you have to say, so put them in the comments. And I'll say, I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We will see you next week, and we're always looking for your comments, suggestions for guests. So please feel free to share them. All right, we'll see you next week.
Take her easy.